We are live.
Yes, we are.
Welcome back to another episode of For Evan's Sake Day. My name is Nee Odate Evans.
And I'm Nana Evans.
And we are bringing you the news from a parenting perspective. On today's show, are you ready to homeschool again? Teachers may be going on strike. Are you ready for AI and how it's going to affect your children's education? And also, we're going to end with a parenting conundrum.
Yes.
But first, so teachers, or the teaching unions rather,
yes,
have been in talks with the education secretary.
Mm-hmm.
The talks are broken down, and people are now speculating that the teaching community is going to join the long list of other workers.
There's so many.
There are so many who are going to be going on strike.
Right.
Now, the unions have asked for a 5% pay rise. They've asked for 12% rather,
Yes.
and they've been offered 5%. And the 12% that they were asking for,
that's in line with inflation, isn't it?
Yeah, and so it's literally just so that they can weather the storm in terms of the cost of living crisis.
Well, teachers don't get paid a lot anyway,
which we know.
They are on really for what they do and for educating the future generations. Their pay it's not enough. It's not adequate.
Yeah.
There are lots of teachers who need to be in that they need assisted living with their rent. They go in, especially in London, it's like you'll get a cheaper rent, which isn't okay that you can get these houses that have cheaper rent, because if you paid them well, they would be able to pay the standard living rent anyway.
But then also you lock them out of actually being able to own and buy property, because you put them in this cycle of like, hang on, no, we've got some houses over here which are especially for you, which you can rent.
Yeah.
And so then you're just in this perpetual cycle of renting from these ridiculous schemes, which are only there because you're not being paid properly in the first place.
Exactly that. I know quite a few teachers, and none of them are balling. Like it's like they're not paid adequately as it is, and to then offer them a paltry 5% increase. 12% isn't asking for the world. It's not like they're saying increase our pay by 30%, where you can actually be like, oh my God, your demands are unreasonable. It's not an unreasonable demand.
On top of that, these are the same teachers who I assume are going to be teaching maths until children are 18 as well. So you're asking more of them.
Yeah.
But now they're asking to be compensated for more.
Yeah.
It seems to be a problem.
But also through the pandemic, these teachers were still working. They didn't have the option of being furloughed like most other workers. Yeah. They had to keep on working.
It's interesting that with the teachers and the NHS staff, probably some of the people that, really went through it during the pandemic.
Yeah.
They are now amongst some of the people who have really been treated really badly.
Yes, definitely.
There was a headline, I think you showed it to me, where literally NHS staff have just been told to like work harder.
Yes.
It's like, have they not given enough? Have they not given enough? And then, to add insult to injury, look how hard they worked during the pandemic, and they're supposed to be happy with the nation clapping on a Thursday evening for them.
Yes.
But now
that was actually the Health Secretary, Steve Barclay. He said that in order to meet their demands, they need to work harder.
Wow.
That is some levels of corruption, really. Is the only word for it.
It's interesting because I wonder that whenever MPs go for a pay rise, which they always get, are they then also working harder for this money that they always get?
MPs since 2010 have actually had a 28% increase in their pay. So in 12 years, and this is again under the Conservative Party, in 12 years, their pay from 2010 has been increased by 28%.
I do wonder sometimes why this country isn't rioting. Like, I literally wonder why we're not rioting.
Everybody out there. This is the thing. We can ask. I think sometimes when you go digging into the stats and then you start to see it, it is like, oh my God, wow. But who is getting this information? I pulled this from going into the data and looking through civil servant, different stats that are out there with pay gaps and pay rises. and then you'll see the amount. You're not seeing this on normal media. You'll find it in like fringe media, but standard media, they're not telling you how much MPs are being paid now to what they were before the Conservatives came into power.
Really, when you think about it, they are absolutely also complicit. Like, the media is absolutely also complicit, because it makes no sense that the people in power can be so obviously, I don't even know what the word is for it. It's just such shoddy behavior, and it can happen so, like, right in front of our eyes.
Exactly that. I mean, going back to what the the hero of the hour, Harry, Prince Harry.
I don't know if he's my hero. I appreciate what he's going through. I don't know if he's my hero.
But Prince Harry, what he was saying about even the royal family feeding the media stuff. Yeah. Absolutely, the government are doing exactly the same. They are feeding what is going to go out into the papers, and the criticism that is in the papers as well is so marginal. Like it may be the Mirror will say something against the government, but it's never going in on them either. It's always a bit like, that they're right again. The Tories are doing this again. They're all complicit. They're all working hand in hand.
And I've said it time and time again. There isn't like a business where you could behave like MPs and still be in a job.
Most definitely. There was an MP, a Labour MP on Facebook that actually was saying that for the government to be like they're encouraging businesses to actually like sue unions, we as the people should be suing the government for being inadequate time and time
woefully
again.
Inadequate. Yeah, woefully inadequate.
I was like, that's great. We actually shoot government.
You are failed. You are a failure. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, look, I hope that the teachers work it out, because I absolutely am not interested in seeing any type of homeschooling ever again. Like, it's not something. And I'm saying that, and compared to a lot of people we've spoken to, our homeschooling experience.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
I don't feel the same. I didn't find it that bad. And in some regards, it was actually quite helpful to really be able to see their education level, to really be involved in it on a day-to-day. By the second and third lockdown, I was really over it, but actually I wouldn't mind going through that again for a couple of weeks. I wouldn't mind it. And if homeschooling was an option and teachers went on a proper long-winded strike and they got exactly what they were after, I'll take that sacrifice. That's fine.
So what you're saying is that if we go into homeschooling, it's you do.
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, we we have the privilege of working from home. But it's a lot easier for us. For other people who are working and, they don't have furlough now, being able to homeschool your children, that is something else. But that inconvenience is maybe what's needed.
It is easier, but it's not easy, because, you're working from home. You're still working.
Yeah, we still have to work. I'm talking about the ones that they're not going to be at home. We're not in a pandemic. Yeah. So they now have to take time off work. So it's the ripple effect on people's incomes as well. Yeah. But I do also think if you are going to strike, there has to be an inconvenience.
Yeah. Like, I think
that's why you do it.
If the teachers if the teachers go on strike, it needs to be for a sizable amount of time.
I think so.
I think in the past is usually
it's like a day or two, and then because it's not all the unions that would go on strike as well. So there would be some teachers there. So you may do like a bit of a skeleton service in school. Yeah, but 5%, offering them 5% is an insult. You could have had some leeway if you were even like on the 7-8% back. Like,
Yeah. Because then it shows that you're really negotiating. Yes. Like, we want to meet you somewhere. Yes. But 5%, I don't think that's helping anybody. But fingers crossed, hoping that they get what they want.
I hope so.
And then hoping that has a then ripple effect for other people in other industries. Sticking on the education theme, AI is here and it's here to stay. I said this before. Chat GPT, which I've also mentioned before, and I said before, if you don't know what it is, go and Google it. If you haven't Googled it, it's your own fault.
Google it and test it out.
Google it and test it out.
Spend some time on that.
How is, so Chat GPT in particular, literally it's a chatbot, you can ask it anything. I've always looked at it from the perspective of how this affects work. Like
Right, yeah, because it's going to cut down your work rate considerably if you use it well. Yeah.
But the conversation we haven't had is, how is it going to affect education?
Yes.
How children work? Because it can. We was watching Jordan Peterson the other night talking about this same thing, and he literally got it to write essays, like very, very complex title essays.
Yeah. In the style of different people, like the different academic styles. There is so much you can do, because even just when we're writing like show notes, you can say make it witty, and it's just brilliant. It is a brilliant tool. But school,
But then what happens with children? Because it's like learning to write an essay is a skill.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's looking like it's a skill that nobody's going to need, because you can just ask Chat GPT to write this essay. But then also it's something that, so usually you can tell when an essay has been plagiarized.
Yeah.
But in this instance, you can't necessarily tell when an essay has been plagiarized.
No, you wouldn't be able to.
And even if you took this is why AI is just changing everything, because you can write an essay in Chat GPT, and then you can take it to another AI program, which then scans the internet to see if this essay looks like anything else
that's been out there. So the teacher, yeah.
So what skills?
We're going to have to go into assessments of different types of skills. I mean, this is an education system that has been created to fit into today's world. The world is going to change. So what you're going to measure on is going to be different, because that's not going to be a differentiating skill to have, to be able to write an essay, which 100 years ago that wasn't a skill to have. So then we're probably going to have like a semblance of both. What you would be measuring is going to be critical analysis, and that may just have to be in classroom time that you're doing that. And it may be the whole day you are working on one thing and you're being assessed on how you critically analyze that. Your imagination is going to become way more important, because computers are going to be able to churn out facts, but computers aren't also necessarily creative like a human is. So then our creativity is going to be more valuable.
You say that, but AI is doing that as well. Obviously, most recently we had the Lenser trend, but before that, there's another application called DALL-E, DALL-E, and you can literally write into that, draw me an image in draw me an oil painting in the style of whatever painter you want.
Because that's the input. The painter you want.
Yeah.
The painter.
But you don't even need to say that. You can say, draw me an image of a girl sitting on an orange chair wearing a black top, and it will draw that for you.
Yeah.
So, and then once you get that, then you can take that into an image program, change it if you need to and whatnot have you. But AI is also creating creative stuff. It's also creating art as well.
It's not from a human perspective. It's like this is our genius, is that we can use our imagination and come up with things, and that's what's going to mean more in the world, is what makes us human. And maybe this is what AI is going to show us.
That's the line.
What makes us special as humans? Because to me, there's levels to this. Like we're going to see what this is. Our cultures are going to evolve in different ways. It's not going anywhere. It's here, and it was created by humans. So we're just going to have to run with it and see where the world goes and how it changes. We're going to evolve. It's going to make us evolve. We're going to move from this state of education, because it's going to need to pivot. It's going to need to change. Computers will do that. And as Jordan Peterson was saying, in some ways, they're going to be more intelligent. Intelligence is just one factor that we have.
Who's going to be more intelligent?
Computers.
Yeah. Okay,
AI is going to be more. So
but it is already.
Then we're not going to measure what it is, what our humanity is, based on intelligence anymore.
Right. Okay.
We're going to need to find other parts to ourselves.
So in my mind.
So I welcome it. I think it's.
I welcome it to an extent.
The challenge.
I welcome it to an extent, but my mind is also with the people out there in control who don't necessarily have human beings' best interests at heart.
There's that.
And for me, that's the problem. So the last time we were speaking about AI, I'm like, this needs to be the point where there does need to be some guidance, some regulation to make sure that people are protected. But at the same time, the people who are in charge of making that guidance and regulation, I don't trust them to make this guidance and regulation.
It's futile even expecting that. It's really what I would urge most people to do is become familiar with the technology that is coming along. Don't get left behind.
Yeah. No, I think that's really, really a beneficial piece of advice. I would have loved Chat GPT to have been around when we were homeschooling, because I can't lie. Sometimes there were questions that would come to me, and I'm like, yeah, let me just go make some food, and I'm going to come back, and then I'm trying to work out the answer.
Well, imagine being in university now, like while it's there, and you know they haven't changed,
at this early stage as well.
They haven't changed. Oh my god! I would have been bagging out essays left, right, and centre.
Happy days. But I think what I am actually going to use it for, as I'm sitting here thinking, is like, obviously SATs coming up for the older one.
Yeah.
And so using that to I was looking this morning, and it was like, okay, you can do asking mock questions, and I was looking at some of the questions, and I was like, actually, that's good. To be fair,
that's a brilliant idea. Yeah, let's see how it works. We can put that into. We could create a video on that as well. Tell people how to do it.
Do you want me to test you?
Go on, let's see.
Let's see.
Is it maths or English?
It's English.
Oh.
I was gonna do the maths one.
We split the help. I'm the maths person, and Nee is the English person.
I'm the English person. So I was gonna give her a maths question, but I was like, why? Why would I do that? So I'm gonna give you an English. I think it's really easy.
Okay.
I think it's really easy. All right. So this is a passage, right? So. As I stepped outside, I was struck by the beauty of the early morning sky. The sun was just beginning to rise, and the sky was a magnificent shade of pink and orange. I couldn't help but stop and stare for a moment. I knew that this was going to be a great day. Okay? Right. What is the main idea of that passage? Is it A, the sun rising, B, the sky in the morning, C, the beauty of nature, or D, the author's appreciation of a beautiful morning?
What was the main point?
Yeah, what is the main idea of the passage?
Oh. I took the author's appreciation.
Oh, well done. See? It's not as bad. Yeah, well done. I thought you was going to slip up and say the beauty of nature, but...
Oh, no.
Well done. See? Yeah. You could do English as well. Glad for yourself.
Thank you.
Okay, so as we said, if you haven't checked out Chat GPT, go and check it out. So we have a parenting conundrum. And so I always feel funny talking about these ones where it's kind of situations where it involves stepchildren and whatnot have you, because I feel like
we haven't lived it.
We haven't lived that
experience. We know a fair few people who have various different types of blended families.
So here's the this was posted on a forum, and I'll read it to you quickly. So, my girlfriend's child walked into the kitchen and tried to climb into the oven because, you know, kids do silly things. I shouted at them, 1, to immediately stop the action that they were doing, and 2, to ensure that they understood the severity of how dangerous it is climbing into an oven. Right. Okay. So now the kid is moping around the house upset because they were shouted at and they know that they've disappointed me. But his girlfriend thinks that he should apologize to the child. And he's like, no. And he's like, I understand, you know, we're doing feeding into this kind of gentle parenting thing. Yeah,
but such a thing. Yeah.
His thing is it's life-threatening danger. And so that's why he shouted at the child. And because to me, this is a no-brainer. Like, it's my child doing something stupid, imminent danger. I'm doing
it's not his child.
And that's what I'm coming to. So it's like, it's a no-brainer for me, because if I'm thinking about my child, imminent danger, I'm going to shout. But you still have that care. It's not your child, but it's imminent danger.
Yeah. You know, I think that it's really about the levels of the shouting. And if the parenting style is they don't shout at their child, because there are lots of, there's so much evidence out there now to, you know, how your style of parenting. And if the style of parenting that they're running with in this house, that is being set forth by the mother or the father as well, and they don't shout at this child, it's not your place to shout. And if you do, whatever your reasons were, you can still explain that and apologize, because they really may not be used to this in any way, shape, or form. I don't think there's anything wrong with apologizing to children.
So
if what you've done is aggressive.
I don't think there's anything wrong with apologizing to children. I've apologized to my children in the past. I think in this particular scenario, if I was the boyfriend, I would feel very aggrieved at having to apologize to the child. And if I did apologize to the child, my apology would be very, very specific, in the sense that I'm sorry that you're upset. I'm not sorry for what I did. Yeah, because I acted out of purely your best interest.
Yeah.
If you're upset about it, I'm sorry for you. Yeah. Okay. But I'm not apologizing for what I done, because if I needed to do it again, I would.
Okay. Maybe an apology, apology stroke explanation as to why I did what I did, because they may not be used to this. This is just learning. It's just communication.
You know,
I just don't think there's anything wrong with communicating. Why I shouted was because these are the dangers. And maybe then you explain it in a calmer way so that they get it. Like the shout, people just think just the shout is going to stop them. I think that's a bit of folly, because it may do with some children, but not all children. And maybe this mother knows her child ain't going to respond to that. That's not going to stop
the child. Stop though.
So then you're going to keep on shouting, because you may catch them trying to get into somewhere else.
It doesn't work. It doesn't necessarily work like that.
Of course, it doesn't necessarily work like that. But I'm saying they may be other circumstances why the mum is reacting this way. So maybe now, after you've done this initial shout, you can now re-explain why you have. Maybe that's the level of parenting that she is expecting. Doesn't have to be I'm sorry I shouted at you.
The explanation doesn't have to involve an apology.
It doesn't. That's why I said it could be an apology stroke explanation. It doesn't have to be a simple just I'm sorry. If that's what the problem is, to just say I'm sorry I shouted, I think that doesn't work either, because you're still not explaining why you shouted and what the dangers are.
He clearly laid out why he shouted.
But so maybe not to the child.
But I'm assuming that if you've brought it here and you're explaining the story, that you've explained again, why.
We can assume away.
That's what we're doing.
But I'm saying all there needs to be is that explanation that he's brought forth there to the child in terms that the child understands. And that could be seen as an apology, because you're explaining why you did it. What is an apology other than that? Yeah. So that's all she's asking for. I don't think it's wholly unreasonable that it's like, maybe you remove apology, because loads of people have an issue with just saying sorry anyway. And you just say, explain to the child now that you're calm why that took place. That to me is the same effective as an apology.
Who used to say he wasn't calm when he was shouting? Okay. Like, you don't have to be like raving mad, frothing at the mouth when you're shouting.
He didn't say that either, but okay. Either way, the parent in the situation thought that it was over the top as to what he did, and that isn't his child. And I think in those situations, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, when you are not the parent and the parent says, this is how I parent, I think you have to follow suit on that. He can take it however he wants to take it. Like, maybe this isn't the family for me to be blended into. He can move however he wants to move from there. But I think they set the tone. It's their child.
Yeah, it's weird, because I think my visceral reaction to this feels very, and it's probably what I'm battling with, it feels very Andrew Tate. Like my real thing is, do you know what? In life, you will get shouted at, and you need to learn how to manage that. And whilst I can provide the argument for the other side of why that's wrong, but I'm also like, there's also truth in that as well. And so if this child isn't used to being shouted at because that's not your parenting style, then actually there's nothing wrong with being exposed to, actually, this is the gamut of human expression. And sometimes some things you do, rightly or wrongly, will make people shout at you. And you need to be able to to know how to handle that and not be startled or shocked by it?
I mean, I haven't experienced many times of being shouted at.
Really? Yeah. I think.
Have you experienced many times of being shouted at?
And so,
anybody other than a parent?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't.
But not like loads of people. But it's happened. I didn't like it. It feels really off. Somebody else other than your parents shouting at you. But 9 times out of 10,
I don't want that lesson. I don't want my child to learn that lesson in my house. Like, I don't really like this style of kind of being horrible to your kids so that they're prepared for the world, because the world is really horrible. I don't agree with that notion, because I actually don't think it's factual. I don't think there's many instances in the real world where you're going to get shouted at, and I want them to be repulsed if that ever happens and they leave themselves, because that space is dangerous. So I don't want that to be like, I know how to combat this, or I don't want them to be equipped in those regards at all. It's like, you'll face it, but because it doesn't have to be the opposite of love to be able to survive in this world. I want them to feel very much like they know who they are safe and secure, and when they're in spaces where they're not, that feels alien and they leave, not to be comfortable with being shouted at or having negative experiences.
It's not about being comfortable being shouted at. It's being able to not even respond. It's not crumbling. So I've been in work situations where somebody hasn't necessarily been shouted at, but they've been spoken to in a way, and their response is to crumble.
They've been disciplined.
Yeah.
That's very different.
But their response isn't responding to it. You've just crumbled.
Mm.
And that's what I'm saying is, like, because perhaps you've never experienced that before, you don't know how to react to it.
Maybe they haven't experienced discipline.
Maybe.
I think it's very... There's nuances to it, but I think the sentiment that I'm going on is, if I don't teach my kids this, the world is going to teach them that, and they're not going to be equipped. I think that's just a false state to parenting. I think that leads to people being bullied by their parents or siblings. And really, when you go into it in detail, it's a form of bullying that takes place in homes. I
think, like you said, there's nuance in it. So I agree with what you're saying, but there's still some of that medicine that you can take and is relevant in terms of, like, raising children, of just being aware of this type of behavior and knowing how to deal with it. It's not saying that I'm going to be horrible to you so you understand what horrible is.
It's even because most people don't even know that they're being horrible. They think they're strengthening character. And it's like, you're not. You're generally just you're demonstrating to a child what a bully is. And that carries on. Look, as we go through conundrums, there'll be way more examples, and I will go further on this point. But there are lots of ways that I think people parent to give strength to their kids. Like, there's an honorable intention in it,
mm-hmm.
but what they are doing is acting out their frustrations, and they are bullying their child.
Okay.
And that can be in the form of shouting or not talking to their kid.
Yeah.
You're giving off patterns that are manipulative and will lead to bullying, and and then they'll wonder why their kid is bullied. And it's like, they know how to deal with bullies.
In a way, I find the not talking way more problematic.
I think they both are. But yes, definitely. Yeah. I mean, you see that playing out a lot more in schools, because you can, if you're screaming at your friends, you're going to get in trouble a lot faster than when you're not talking to a certain person.
Yeah.
That's all learnt behavior.
Yeah.
So,
to be fair, when you think about it as well, this could also be like kind of where cancel culture has kind of grown from, because you're allowed to just not speak to that person because of something they said, rather than working it out or understanding that two people can have differences.
Or going online and just bleating out all that you feel, which also is a bit of a form of shouting, raging, like that rage against somebody.
Yeah.
They should lose their jobs. All of that. It's all steeped in it, and it is like, it's not effective, and it doesn't create a well-rounded human being.
Cool. Well, that was an interesting conundrum.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to more of them, like you said.
Yeah.
I think that's our time.
That is our time.
That's our time. Thank you if you have been with us. We appreciate you.
Yes.
We will be back again tomorrow, 12 o'clock. You know the drill. If you are enjoying our live streams, please share it with your friends and let them know. What else?
Yes, and come onto our social media platforms as well. So we're also on IG and we are on TikTok, and we have lots of different clips on there, and people all around the world are talking. So join in the conversation with us on our social platforms.
And get involved.
Well. Yeah.
Listen, have a lovely day.
Yes,
and we will see
you
you again tomorrow at 12.
See you tomorrow.